Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today's College Prep Workshop hosted by Parinama Academy and Life. My name is Rima, and I'm in 10th grade at Browse High School in Leander, Texas. I'm really excited to have Kashvi and also Tyler here with us today. Tyler is admissions officer at a really prestigious college, and he is here to share some insightful advice with us here today. So, everyone, let's give a big round of applause for Tyler here today.
Hi, everybody. Please don't applause until I'm done because I want to earn the applause. It's great to be with you. I really appreciate Shiva and the students and the volunteers having me here today. Um, Tutoring is not just one position that I serve in. It really is a passion. I believe that children are our future, as Whitney Houston once said. And a little bit of background about me. I was a professor for 17 years at Baylor University. And in that time, I had the privilege to teach over 6,000 undergraduate and graduate students, including 1,000 of them hailing from all over the world, countries such as India and China, Nigeria, and other places. In addition to teaching all of those students and trying to mentor them, I had the privilege to work with over 1,000 high school students and their parents who are coming into the university. They were doing campus visits. They were trying to transfer their credit, asking questions about dual credit and AP. And so I had the privilege to work with them as well. In addition to teaching for all those years, for the past 5 years, I've had the privilege of being a career coach. I coach very talented individuals, most in large Fortune 500 companies. The professionals span all different professions: engineers, scientists, attorneys, physicians, and even executives. The point of all this is to say that I've had the privilege of working with high school students, undergraduate and graduate, and then professionals. Being able to work with talented people across that whole continuum has given me insight in terms of what are the things that aspiring high school students who desire to get into a top college need to be able to get into that university and then to succeed. The last thing I'll say, and it's the most important, save the best for last. I have three sons. The oldest is almost 24, and my twin sons are almost 20. And I got to see them explore their own journey through high school, through college, combination of public and private universities. So I speak first and foremost as a parent before even an educator, a tutor, and a career coach. So I'm honored to be a part of Parinama. And if you want any more information, please feel free to contact Shiva and he can connect you with me. Thank you for having me today.
Hi, thank you so much for that insightful knowledge, Tyler. Thank you. So let's get started with our workshop. So I'm glad to have Kashvi here today with us. She's a college student studying computer science at UIUC, which has one of the best CS programs in the nation. Kashvi, thank you so much for being here, especially during your summer break. Before we start with the questions, can you please tell us a bit about yourself, what you're doing this summer, and what made you want to study computer science?
Yeah, happy to be here. So I'm Kashbi. I'm a sophomore, or actually, I'm a junior now studying computer science at UAUC. This past summer, I was doing a bunch of summer courses actually, since I'm also graduating early. And I wanted to do computer science because I really like that you can basically create anything you want with software. For me, it's kind of like magic. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Kashvi. I'm really excited to hear more about your story from high school to college. So let's get started. Let's go back to the start of high school. That time could feel a bit confusing when everything is new. What are some good habits you built early in high school that helped you later on, like in school, college applications, or just in life?
Yeah, definitely. Freshman year is it's a time to navigate everything. For me, my freshman year was also the time when COVID started. So that happened spring semester. But one habit that I'm really glad that I built in high school because it has served me very well in college is time management. So throughout high school, freshman year, I believe I had a planner, like a physical planner. And then throughout high school, I transitioned to using digital planners, specifically Notion. And I set up my Notion in high school. And then summer before college is when I was really like making my college Notion, which I still use every single day. And so I'm really glad that I learned how to like time block, how to stick to a schedule, how to prioritize my tasks to get everything done that I needed to on time. And also just so I could make time for myself, for my like spending time with family, spending time with friends, and any extracurriculars I might have had to. So it was really good. It just helps you kind of get all of that load of trying to manage everything out of your head and onto paper or a laptop. And that really opens up more of your brain space so you can focus on your work.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now let's move on to college essays. A lot of us feel nervous about them. Like writing about yourself can feel a little bit strange. How do you make your college essays sound like you? Honest, natural, but still interesting to read.
Yeah, so for me, one workshop in particular that I found very helpful is, or one resource, I guess, is College Essay Guy. If you just look up his website, he has this starter template kind of thing. Like there's a starting exercise that he wants you to work on before you start writing your essays, and that really helps you like hone in on what your values are. So that was very important for me so that I know at least what I'm writing about. And then in terms of the writing, I consider myself to be, you know, a decent writer, maybe slightly above average. So it's just really the first process is just dumping everything that I want to say onto paper and then just going back multiple rounds, refining it. And one piece of advice that I received that was very helpful when I was writing my essays is if the content of your essay isn't interesting, the style of your essay should be. And if the style of your essay isn't interesting, the content of your essay should be. So by style, I mean, like, say, if you have a very if you consider this like a generic story, then maybe you can format your essay in a different way. You can maybe add like timestamps. You can structure your essay a little bit differently and have like time jumps in the writing to really make your essay stand out a bit more. So it's really a balance of making sure that you um, are able to convey what you want to say, but then also you want to make sure that the reader is interested and doesn't just zone off in your essay.
Okay, thank you so much. That's so amazing to learn about. How did you make your essays feel honest and personal, but instead of just writing what you thought colleges wanted to hear?
Yeah, so before even looking at the essay prompts, I made sure that I knew what about myself I wanted to convey to the colleges. And that's really important that you do that before looking at the prompts, because once you look at the prompts, you're thinking, oh, okay, so maybe this is what they want to hear, or maybe this is what they want to hear. But it's really important that first you're honest with yourself and you make sure that you are able to convey everything that makes you you to the admissions officers. So that's one thing I did. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your answer. There are also so many career paths you could have chosen, but you chose computer science, which is really exciting. How did you first start learning about computer science in high school? Was there a moment where you thought, this is what I want to do?
Yes, so both of my parents are software engineers, and that's just what I've been around my whole life. So every time like we would sit down at the dinner table and I would ask them about their day, you know, they wouldn't get too technical, obviously, but it was just very cool to learn that like, you know, my mom had pushed out this feature in her work, or my dad had pushed out this feature, and I just thought that like you know, the work they did was so cool and the features that they were pushing out were also like they were so interesting. Like um I will say my mom like she implemented like fingerprinting at one point is one thing I remember, like fingerprint to unlock in one of her applications. And I just thought that was so cool because again, like to me, like it's like magic that I just put my finger somewhere and then it unlocks a whole new world. So
That sounds really cool. What about your activities outside of school, like clubs or projects?
yeah, so I really love to get involved even in college and then definitely throughout high school. That's really where I found like my friends through my clubs. So I did student council, and then I did think this is a while ago. I did Girls Who Code. I was on the officer board for that. And then I'm trying to think. I also did baking club. So that's one thing that I'm really passionate about is baking. And then I was the president for that. And then trying to think. Let's see, Girls Who Code. I am blanking right now. I did computer science UIL. I know that. That's all I can remember. It was a while ago.
Oh, thank you so much. Do you choose things that matched your future goals or did it just happen naturally?
Yeah, definitely with clubs, it's a balance of what you want to do and then also what you know that college it would look good on your college applications. For me, I really just do what I want to do. So I know that obviously these clubs are important for my future. So I will join them, but I'll make sure that I have a good time while I'm doing it because something about me is that if I'm not enjoying what I'm doing, then I don't want to do it. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to create a space for myself within those clubs where I enjoyed what I was doing. But yes, definitely, I had to also think about how it would look on my college application. So I did try to join some computer science related clubs as well.
That's amazing. I'm also in Girls of Code last year, and I'm also thinking of doing it this year. Let's now talk about how you helped your school or your community. Was there a problem you saw at school or in your neighborhood that you tried to fix?
Yeah, so I love to volunteer. I love to give back. So as the president of Baking Club, one problem that I'm really passionate about is providing food to the homeless community. And I recognize that through my role as the president of Baking Club, I had a lot of say in what our service initiatives would be. So, one project that I started that has now become an annual project for the Baking Club is every November around Thanksgiving, we collaborate with other student organizations to get donations for ingredients, and then with our members, we actually cook food in the kitchen and also bake, of course. So we had like a school kitchen and we would cook a meal, a full three-course meal, appetizer, main entree, and dessert. And then we would pack them into go boxes and we would partner with other organizations. I remember we partnered with the Brown Bag Project at my school to deliver them to either a homeless shelter downtown or to directly give them out to the homeless. And so um, the first year we did that, I believe we sent out over 70 meals. And then the second year that we did that, it was almost 200. So um, I'm really happy that I was able to have that impact in my community. And one thing I regret is that I wasn't able to be there for the distribution of these packages, but my other officers were, and they could just tell me like, you know, the look on the people's faces when they received the foods.
Oh, wow, that's so amazing. Do you also do any volunteer work in high school other than this baking club? If yes, how did it change the way you thought about the world and your part in it?
Yeah, so I wasn't part of a specific volunteer organization. I mainly did National Honor Society requires volunteer hours. And then also I went to Round Rock High School, by the way. So we have Dragon Force. So that's also like where you get, if you get 80 hours over the course of your 4 years, then you get a cord at graduation. So I just collected those 80 hours through various volunteer events. There were a lot of events happening through the clubs I was in, through just general clubs at school that I could volunteer for. And so for me, it's just I didn't stick with like one cause. I kind of contributed to a variety of causes. And I think that really helped me like learn about other people's perspectives and really just see how other people see the world because it's important sometimes to detach from your own experience and see how someone else views a problem so that you can really understand it better and maybe figure out a better solution to it.
Oh, thank you so much for your answer. Now let's move on to college applications, which are one of the most stressful things in the world for college students. So, what were some helpful tools, websites, books, or people that supported you during this process?
Yeah, so for the college applications, as I mentioned, College Essay Guy has so many resources for your essays, and I think that's really like you have to go to it if you just want like a general baseline so that you can just elevate your essays. And then for test prep, actually, I took the ACT and I found Super Tutor TV to be very helpful for that. The woman that runs it, she really knows these tests inside out. And I took the course from them, and they like it was really just very detailed and really helped me improve my score. And then just for the general college application process, I didn't really know anyone older than me to like guide me through the process. So I would often email my counselor or just go in person and talk to them, my high school counselor. And then they would be able to help me with like where do I like do things on the Common App? Like how does the Common App work? How do all these other applications work? And that was very helpful. And then finally, I decided to get my essays reviewed, not all of them because they're pretty expensive, but at least for my main essay, I used prompt.com, I think. And they really provide like a detailed word for word, line by line review of your essay. And they are pretty expensive, but I think for the for your main essay, I think it's worth it to at least do it once.
All right, that's great advice. I'll definitely be using that whenever I go to college applications. Also, as you know, there's many essays in college applications, but one essay that make students worry a lot about is the why this school essay. How did you make that essay feel personal and real, and not like something anyone could write?
Yeah, so for the why us essay, one piece of advice that I found online that was very helpful for me is that what the admissions officer is looking for in that essay is they want to like visualize you at their school. That's your goal with this essay, is you want to really paint a picture of like your day-to-day life at the school, what you would be doing. And so one thing admissions officers have to consider is what classes they have to fill. So, like they have to fill a certain, or sorry, they have to fill the seats in some of their classes, like some of their more niche classes, maybe. So for me, I'm particularly interested in cybersecurity. And so for UIUC, for example, I just went online, looked at their classes. You have to do some digging for each school. But I was able to find a class called computer security, and I knew that I would really want to take it. And I actually am taking it this upcoming semester. So I included that I would want to take this specific class, like course number and everything, in my essay. And then I also researched the organizations for each school that I applied to. You can like go and see what clubs they have. And then I definitely included some of the clubs that I would want to join at the school. So it's basically each YS essay is just you making a plan of what your life would be like at that school. So I think like one thing to take away is you have to make them just visualize you at that school and really see you there.
Thank you so much for that advice. Before we move on, a lot of students talk about SAT and ACT tests. I know you already touched on this topic, but do you have any more tips or advice on how to prepare for these tests, stay calm during test day, or improve scores?
Yeah, so one thing I often see students doing just in my community is they'll take one test and just stick with it, whether it's the SAT or the ACT. But what I did, I think summer before junior year, yeah, junior year is I actually just sat down and took the entire SAT, like a practice SAT one day, and then like a couple days later I took a practice ACT, compared my scores, but also compared how I felt about each test. And I realized that initially, while my score on the ACT was lower than my SAT score, I actually found that I I thought that I would be able to improve on the ACT more because it was more suited to my strengths. So I would recommend like every student to take both tests and see which one you like better. But in terms of score improvement, one tip that I found very helpful is, as I mentioned, I used Notion throughout high school. So I had a Notion page where I would just make a table for every section of every practice test that I took. And then once I'm going back and I'm scoring the practice tests that I take, I write down the question number, why I got the question wrong, what the correct answer was, and the most important thing is how I can get it right the next time. So I did that for every single practice test, and I think it's very important to keep track of the questions you got wrong so that you can really start to notice the patterns and why you're getting them wrong. For me, for example, I remember in the ACT reading section, I was really good at like the details, the detail-oriented questions, but then I would often miss the bigger picture. So me realizing that led me to like remember during the test that, oh, I have to look at the bigger picture as well for this question. So that really helped me improve my score.
Thank you so much. Those are some really helpful tips. I'm sure everyone here can use that advice to feel more ready for test day. High school is also about trying new things, joining different clubs, and also growing as a person while learning more about who you are. Was there a time when you stepped outside your comfort zone and tried something new? And what did you learn from it?
Yes. So in terms of stepping outside my comfort zone, I mostly did that through my academics. So I was always taking challenging classes. So my junior year, I took some pretty challenging APs, AP Physics, for example. I know if anyone's in it, you know the struggle. But yeah, so that class, I had to really like wrap my head and around it, and I had to change the way that I study. So I had to figure out what worked best for me. I had to go online, figure out some new study strategies, really drill down the practice questions. But what I learned from it is that I am capable of just learning anything that I put my mind to. That's my biggest takeaway from that class. And even though I may not always perform the best at it, I know that I gave it my best and that it helped me grow because I was able to try out these new study techniques that I've now applied in my college classes.
Thank you so much for your advice. That was really amazing, stepping out of your comfort zone and everything, and I definitely agree with that. We already touched on this topic, but time management is really tricky for many high schoolers as most of us are trying to balance classes, clubs, extracurriculars, and many other things. How do you balance everything without being too stressed out?
Yeah, it's definitely a fine line between being too stressed out and being, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. So, as I mentioned, I had my Notion like weekly planner. I would just during class, I just take out my laptop every time homework was mentioned, immediately write down what I had to do because for me, if I don't write it down, it's not getting done. So, that's like one habit that I developed, and it took some time to develop, but you really have to stick with it because it serves you in so many ways. And then also, I don't believe I had a calendar in high school, but I obviously have one right now. But just also noting down like in my planner or in my like my weekly planner, what activities I had and when. So just keeping track of like really everything in my life. And the more that you write things down, the less that you have to like think about them and say, oh, I have a club meeting at 5. Um, so you don't have to think that and you just know that it's in your planner. So that's a really good way of making more space for focusing on your other classes. Um, and then let me see. Yeah. Every Sunday I would reset for the week. Just even if I had so many assignments due, I'd make sure to take at least 20 minutes out of my day and just really plan for my week so that I know that, okay, I have a test on Thursday, but I also have a project due on Wednesday. So I probably need to start studying for that earlier. So it's just really like planning your whole week out and seeing where you have time and where you don't, so that you can really make sure that you're not too stressed on one day and then you have nothing to do on another day.
That's really helpful advice. Thank you. I'm still working on my time management, so I'll definitely try some of those tips. Just one more question about this, but many people always say that colleges are looking for well-rounded students. What does being well-rounded mean to you, and how did you grow in different areas without feeling too stressed?
So being well-rounded to me, I know most people think that it's like, oh, you have to be good at your academics. You also have to be good at a sport, good at music, good at your vocation, your whatever you want to do. But for me, well-rounded really just means that more that you value a variety of perspectives, and that's how you're well-rounded, so that you're able to talk to a bunch of different people, and have productive conversations with them. And obviously you build that, like you build the ability to converse with all these different types of people through experience, and that's where the well-rounded like sports, music, everything comes in. So for me, I really love learning Spanish, and so I actually pursued Spanish like to the highest level in my high school. So I took it as many years as I could. And I believe my last year was my junior year. And through Spanish, like I was able to make a lot of parallels to my own culture, and then also be able to learn about another culture's practices, what they think, why they think that, and really like understand more about the people in our world. And I think that's what colleges are really looking for, is like, can you go out into the world and um, are you able to like have productive conversations with people who may not see eye to eye with you on things? Um, what was the second part of the question? I'm sorry.
Second part of the question was, how did you grow in different areas without feeling too stressed?
Yeah. Um, so for me, when I was planning out my classes, actually, so I took choir as well as Spanish. I took choir all 4 years. So I knew that like those two slots in my schedule would always be filled. And so I really just tried to plan around that to make sure that I am growing, I am being well-rounded first before I try to do anything else and take anything else on. I think really you have to like focus on a couple of things rather than trying to do everything all at once.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like things we do just for fun can really show who we are. Whether something that you did, like a hobby, or something creative that you enjoy just for yourself. And did you end up including that in your college application?
Yeah, so something that I did just for fun is the summer after my sophomore year, okay, well, actually, let me back up here. So freshman year, my computer science teacher, she encouraged me to join this online capture the flag competition. And that's actually a cybersecurity competition where you have to try to hack some websites and obtain like a flag, which is like a string of text and numbers um, from that website. Uh, Obviously, it's all like it's set up, it's not real websites. But I remember like the first time that I did that challenge, um, that's when I knew that like I really wanted to go into cybersecurity. And so it was summer after freshman year, I'm sorry. I decided to take like a certification course, an online certification course in cybersecurity, just to learn more about it because I knew that I really enjoyed it. And I did include that I think as one of my extracurricular activities on my Common App because it did include like some projects that I had to complete. And so I was able to learn a lot about cybersecurity through that course. Um, and I did include it on my application just to show that, like this is something I really enjoy doing, and I want you to know that.
Oh, thank you so much. That sounds really cool. Were there any values or beliefs that helped guide you in high school when you had to make choices?
Yes, so I think I've already touched on this, but one thing that I really value is that I'm not going to do something if I don't enjoy it. So something that happened freshman year is I decided to join Model UN because, everyone says it looks great on your college resume and, it like really helps you with your speaking skills. But after attending a conference, actually, I learned that it was not for me. I did not perform well in the conference, and I realized I don't like it. So I actually stopped doing that. And so that's one decision that I had to make is, do I drop this? Do I keep it? I know it looks good on college apps, but I really do not enjoy this. And for me, like I need to enjoy it or I know I won't perform my best in it. So that's one value. And then another value that I have, for me, like I care about grades to a certain level, but like I'm not someone who's like trying to be valedictorian. Like I'm trying to just be like up there. And I know that's different for a lot of people. So I'm just saying like this is what I value. Because I know that at the end of the day, like grades do not define me. And if there's something else that I would rather be doing, and I already know that like my grade is good enough in this class, then like I'm not going to stress too much about it. And I really never stressed too much about grades in high school. So
Oh, thank you so much for your answer. So now we're going to move on to leadership. So were there any leadership experiences that you included in your college applications in a way that was honest, showed your impact, and didn't sound like bragging?
yeah, so I think for the didn't sound like bragging part, you really have to focus on what you learned from it and how that experience helped you grow rather than on like the numbers. Of course, it's important to show the impact that you had, but that shouldn't be like the first and foremost thing in your essay because your essay is about you. Um, so like I said, I was president of the baking club. And so that experience actually helped me grow a lot because oftentimes our meetings were like pretty chaotic because there was just so much going on. And while I'm not like a chaotic person, I don't personally enjoy being in that environment. But I just know like that was something that had to happen because I tried so many things, but it's just there were too many moving parts. And so I learned to actually like embrace the chaos. And I realized that our members were having a lot of fun in that as well. So that's something that I wrote about in my essays, is how I was able to grow as a person as well through Baking Club, because constantly I had to think about every aspect of the club. Even though I had my officers helping me, ultimately it was me giving them the tasks. So that's definitely something where I grew a lot over the 2 years that I was president. And so in my essays, like, of course, I did talk about the service project that I helped start, but I more so focused on how I was able to learn new skills through the position.
All right, thank you so much. To continue on that, were there any other common themes or values you try to highlight through your application other than service and making sure that you're in an environment that you feel suited in?
Yeah, so one thing that I tried to highlight was how hardworking I am. And I know that's like a very, very common value among high school students, but that's like where you have to do a bit of thinking and try to make it uncommon or try to make it unique to you. So that was through, some experiences. For example, I believe my main Common App essay was about how I actually learned like to wake up at 5 a.m. Not every day, but on the days when I needed to, and how I learned to actually enjoy it. So from that essay, I tried to really highlight like all the things that I was able to get done before everyone else started their day. How like I was really committed to learning more as well, because I mentioned that I would try to learn something new. Um, when I did wake up that early. And then also, hard work can be showcased throughout your classes, of course, as well. So I tried to take difficult classes, and I believe senior year I took 5 APs, which is more than the recommended amount, but it worked for me and I was able to handle it. And I wanted to show that I was continuously trying to like grow my capacity for working hard.
All right, thank you so much for your answer. This goes hand in hand with the previous question, but what was the most underrated part of your application that you think really helped you?
That's a good question. I think I haven't talked about this yet. Okay. So one thing that I did the summer after my sophomore year is I actually on my own I tried to create an app, and this was like before AI was a thing. So, I had to go on Stack Overflow and just dig through errors for days. But I actually did write about that in my essays. That's a great experience to write about because it was a personal project that I did. So I wrote about how I was able to like learn to code better through that, so much better. I was able to work with a very large code base and try to understand it. and how building that application, because it was an Android application. And then senior year, I took an Android development class, how that application really helped me get ahead of my peers in that class. And then so I remember that in that essay, my first line was actually a line of code, and that immediately signals to the admissions officers that I know what I'm talking about, I know how to code. And then what I followed that line of code with in the rest of the essay, that showed like how I grew through the experience. And so I think that essay was one of my most underrated components.
Wow, that's amazing. Quick question, but what was your project about?
Yeah. So it was during COVID. So, for me, I love to study around other people. So I decided to create an Android app that would let you join study sessions with other groups of people. You could chat with them, and then you could create like a shared session. You'd all have a shared like Pomodoro timer, send friend requests, everything. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Now we're going to bring everything that we talked about together now, and we'll ask three final questions about advice they could give to future freshmen. So, what would be some advice you would give to a ninth grade student who's just beginning to think about college and their future?
Yes, so I always tell my younger friends, family friends, anyone, focus on what you want to do, because as long as you enjoy what you're doing, you're going to push yourself to be better in it. And just don't do things that you don't enjoy, because you're going to be very mediocre at that thing. And obviously you want to be good at it. So just always do what you want to do.
Thank you so much. Looking back, what was one academic or extracurricular decision you made in high school that you're especially proud of?
Okay. I believe one of my most like, let me restart. One of the things that I am proud that I made the decision to do is take on a lot of challenging classes, and specifically just take the math classes at my school to the highest level that I could go, which was multivariable calculus. Um, so, I decided to actually skip taking calculus AB and go straight to taking calculus BC, um, which would allow me to take multivariable calculus. And that's one decision I'm really proud of myself for, because honestly, even though I'm a computer science major, I'm not that much of a math person. So that was one way that I like really tried to push myself and tried to grow in an area where I knew I wasn't comfortable. And honestly, I really enjoyed multivariable calculus, so I'm glad I did that.
Thank you so much for your answer. This is now the final question, but were there any moments when you changed directions, like switching activities or goals? And how did you explain that?
Yes, so I think I mentioned Model UN. So that club, a lot of my friends were in it. I also decided to join because I thought, maybe it would help me learn more about the world. But ultimately, when we did our first practice session, I couldn't like muster up the confidence to speak to like a large group of people. And that was something that I struggled with at the time. But through other activities, I was able to improve that skill. But specifically for MUN, I decided that was not it for me at that first practice, but I tried to still continue going to a conference. And so once I did go to a conference and I still realized that, this is not for me, that's when I decided, okay, this is not serving me well. I can use this time to spend on other things. And it's not the end of the world if I don't have Model UN on my resume, because thousands of other students have it as well. So that's like that's one moment where I decided to pivot and just change from the plan that I had set for myself originally.
Thank you so much for all that advice. But before we finish, we would love to open the floor for questions from the audience. If you guys have any questions, please raise your hand or type it into the chat. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes for some questions to arrive and we can answer some. In the meantime, I actually have a question for you too. So, do you have any advice on how to prepare for AP tests?
Yeah, so one resource that I used for AP tests a lot in high school is Fiveable, and this was back when it was free. But they have really good guides, so I honestly would recommend purchasing it. And actually, senior year, I was hired by Fiveable to make some of their content. So that's how I know that like the content is good. Yes, because I made some of it, but also because like Fiveable was like it got me through so many AP tests, and it's a really good resource. Like it comes straight from the students. So yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for your answer.
Okay, I think we have a question in the chat. How did you hold confidence in yourself as both an applicant and a student while dealing with the anxiety that comes with the application process? For sure, like the process is it's very anxiety inducing. I remember thinking, am I even going to get into a college? Like, am I even going to a college? Um, but for me, I'm a very positive thinker, and I like had to believe to like prevent myself from spiraling that I would go to a college. But one thing that really helped me was talking about it with my friends. We would always share tips with each other. So I think having a support network is very important. Um, and then as a student, you know, you have to really manage your time between classes and applications. So that's why I made sure senior year I had at least one off period. And that was really the time that I blocked out for myself to focus on these applications. And knowing that I was preparing myself for these applications really helped me improve my confidence.
Thank you so much. We have a few more questions. The next one is a bit more of a fun question, but how about Texas versus Midwest weather? Which one do you prefer?
I love that. Yeah, actually, one of the reasons I chose UIUC was because of the weather, because personally, I don't like the heat. And so I really enjoyed the snow here. It snows sometimes, and it's not too much where it's like it's impacting your daily life, but it's just really nice to look at. And it also just the weather is more mild here. So I just really enjoy that. Like it's nice in the summer, it's cold in the winters, and I really love the cold. So I knew I wanted to go somewhere north for college.
Thank you so much for your answer. Do you have any fun facts about UIUC that you want to share to us?
Fun facts. Okay, let me think. Any like particular aspect, just in general? Let me
Just
think.
in general.
Okay. Um, Well, yeah, it's a really big school. So, you know, we have 50,000 total students. It's huge. And that means that there's always something fun to do. That's what I really like about this campus is that there's never a dull moment. There's so many programs on campus always hosting events. So you never have to be bored or just sit in your room. You can always grab a friend and go somewhere. And then let me think. Hmm, really putting me on the spot here. But we have let's see, at least for the computer science department, like we have a national center for supercomputing applications, and that's where we do like quantum research, we do like advanced AI research with like all the huge resources that are needed. Um, we also have hmm, yeah, we have a bunch of programs through the National Center for students as well, like for undergraduate research. Um, yeah. Yeah, I can't really think of any right now. I'm sorry, I'm blanking.
You're good, you're good. Now, depending on UT Austin, which is many kids in Texas aspiration, or UIUC, which one would you pick right now?
Personally for me, I would still choose UIUC. It is more expensive, but that's also like part of why I'm graduating early is that it makes the costs be like on a similar level. Um, Again, it's for me like it really comes down to the weather. I cannot imagine going to class in the 100-degree heat. That's not for me. But also for like UIUC is more of like a small town environment, and I really love the suburbs, and I am not a city girl. And UT Austin is, right in the middle of downtown, and I don't think that's a good environment for me. And actually, in high school, I actually did have the opportunity to live at UT for a week and live in the dorms, and so that's when I decided that there's a lot of like noise going on, and it's really not for me.
Hi, thank you so much. Are you part of any clubs in college right now, or are you still baking still?
Yeah, no baking, unfortunately, but I did take a cooking class one time and that was fun. Right now in college, I'm involved with Women in Computer Science, and so I do like workshops through that, like technical workshops. So I help teach freshmen and also high school students about like basics of AI, basics of Python, web dev, game dev, anything that I really want to teach. And then I'm also part of Women in Cybersecurity, where I kind of do the same thing, but on the cybersecurity side.
Oh, that's amazing. A lot of kids like me need help coming up with the college, as I'm also interested in computer science. So, do you know any like top three colleges that you like for computer science or cybersecurity that you'd have went if you didn't go to UIUC?
Yeah, I know UT Dallas is actually pretty good for like it's got a good community, it's got a good like support network. I have a bunch of friends going there who really like it for computer science. Obviously their dorms are really nice, so that's a plus. Um I think Purdue is also a great one, and we're kind of rivals, so I'm not gonna gas them up too much. But Purdue is also pretty good for computer science. It's I think also like more of a Midwest vibe if you don't want to come to UIUC. Um, and then let me think. I think the California schools as well, pretty good. You have, a lot of opportunities around there in that area. You're very close to like a major tech hub, close to, fun activities as well, like the beach, hiking, mountains, anything. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This is the final question from the questions, but when do you start applying? Do you do early action or early decision?
Yes. So, applications start. So the Common App portal opens up July 1st, and that's the July 1st before you start your senior year. So after your junior year. And so I think I applied most of my schools as early, the EA. What is it? It's early application, right?
Yeah, early decision. Early
No,
decision.
early decision is where you're binding. Early action, I'm sorry, early action. It's been 3 years. So I applied most of my schools early action, and then the ones that had like an early decision or a restrictive early action option, those were the ones that I applied regular action because for me, I wanted to have the choice of where I go, and I didn't want to bind to a school and then end up not liking it.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's see if any more questions roll in. In the meantime, do you want to share about what you're doing in college this year, like your electives they took?
Yeah, so this year I'm actually taking the most electives that I've ever taken, and I think that's really what sets UIUC apart from a lot of schools is that we have such great electives that really do apply to the real world. So I'm taking computer security, as I mentioned, and I'm really excited for that. And then I'm also taking Internet of Things, so IoT. And apparently in that class, we get to build a slightly simplified version of a Tesla Model 3 engine.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
I'm very excited about that. And I think we get to do some projects using computer vision as well. And then another class I'm taking is databases. So that's just really important for the real world. Um, to learn about like relational databases, vector databases, all of that. And my final one is user interface design. And I'm not like, personally, I'm not a front end person, but I decided to take this class because it is important to know how to design your website so that the user has the most intuitive experience with it. And it's just really good for like your personal project when you're designing. So, it's like an extra layer that you can add on. So I'm excited for all of these classes.
They all sound really interesting. Do you have like a favorite course that you took in the past 2 years in college?
Yeah, so as of right now, it's another one of my CS electives. It's called computational photography, and it was a class about image processing and also computer vision. So in that class, we got to do a lot of very cool hands-on projects. For example, one of them was where you're given like an image, maybe of like a forest or like a cabin in the forest or really any image, and you just get to like expand out the scene using purely algorithms. So you can make like you can extend the forest and it'll look like as if it's part of the picture. You can be given like a pattern and you can extend that pattern across like even a larger image. Instead of just expanding the size of the image, you expand the content as well. And then another project we did was an image-based lighting project where we learned about like how light affects objects, and then we used like some computer vision algorithms to actually insert an object into the image and make it look like it was already there when it was photographed. So that was very, very cool.
That sounds really cool. I'm thinking of joining or applying to UIUC and multiple other colleges, but that sounds really interesting.
Mhm.
So if there's no more questions in the chat, we can start wrapping up. Kashvi, thank you so much for joining and taking the time to speak with us today. Your journey is truly inspiring and really appreciate all the thoughtful advice and insights you shared today. I'm sure that your experiences will definitely encourage and guide many students, including me, who are beginning to think about their own future goals. Thank you again, and thank you everyone for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.